Takes it off in Striptease, one of 5 summer movies we'll be reviewing this week on Siskel and Ebert, including Eddie Murphy in the much-anticipated remake of The Nutty Professor, and also films about subjects as varied as Oliver North and Iceland. I'm Gene Siskel of the Chicago Tribune.
And I'm Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times. Our first movie is Striptease, starring Demi Moore as a brave mother who works as a stripper to raise money to win a custody fight for her daughter. And right there you've got the problem. Her character is seen as courageous and admirable, but the movie is a comedy and a satire, and all of the other characters are funny, but not to me.
God, it's 8 weeks, and I still get nauseous before I have to go out there.
You get over it.
Really? I can't imagine that.
The movie is based on a very funny novel by Carl Hiaasen, who aimed the same satirical attitude at all of his characters. He spared nobody, and Burt Reynolds rises to the occasion with a very funny performance as a congressman who was addicted to booze, sex, and making a fool out of himself.
You've never covered yourself with Vaseline?
No, not unless I have third-degree burns, no.
You don't know what you're missing. I've got it all over. It's down in my boots. I can feel it squishing between my toes.
All right, okay.
Moore's no-good ex-husband, played by Robert Patrick, is such a louse he uses their daughter as a prop for stealing wheelchairs.
Get in the van, Angie. Get in. We're parked in a loading zone. We don't want to break the law.
Another scene stealer is Ving Rhames, who was the crime boss in Pulp Fiction and here plays the club bouncer.
Where have you been all night?
Doing my Christmas shopping early. Martha Stewart recommends it.
My guess is that everybody laughed at the original Carl Hiaasen novel, and then they started rewriting it a little to make the Demi Moore character more positive. And that was not a good idea, because her character should be just as much the target of humor as everybody else in the movie, and they made her into sort of a plucky heroine of the sort that Sally Field plays. This confuses the tone in a lot of scenes where you have some actors going for laughs and the heroine playing it too straight. Thumbs down from me for Striptease.
Way down from me. I mean, the writing is awful. I didn't read the book, so I didn't have that insight.
It's a great book. I love the book.
I can appreciate the criticism you're giving, because that now makes sense. Her character is deadly boring. Let's face it, as constructed, the only reason to look at this picture is to see her body. She's continuing a progression in which I don't know what's next for her. If you think about it, Demi, has a baby on camera. I mean, that's about it, where she seems to be headed. That's the level, and I'm criticizing it on the level because that's what everybody's thinking about when they watch this picture. It is a study in her body. Burt Reynolds, I can admire the attempt at self-parody at some level, but he actually is ripping off what Charles Durning did a whole lot better in Reynolds' picture called The Best Little Whorehouse in Texas.
Well, I like Burt Reynolds in the movie, and I liked most everybody else in the movie, too, but I did feel that it should be a raucous laugh riot. It's a comedy.
The whole notion of her being,
It's not a remake.
It's a Scarlet Letter almost in the same way.
You're right.
That's just what she's doing. Ridiculous.
Okay.
Next movie, and our next film is a strange little picture called Cold Fever, set in Iceland. It follows the adventures of a young Japanese man who ventures there to honor the site in Iceland, a remote river, where his parents died on a trip.
How much?
Only 300,000 kroner.
300. Too much money for an old and frozen car,
Old? This car has an aura. Can't you feel it?
That's Masatoshi Nagase as the young man. On the road, finally, he picks up a couple of strangers, a bickering American couple played by Fisher Stevens and Lily Taylor.
I'm thinking of buying a farm here.
Yeah, buy it yourself.
Maybe build a ski resort.
Yeah, I hope you break both your legs.
I'm gonna break both your legs unless you're quiet.
Just stop. I've had about enough.
Right.
Really, I'm not kidding. I'm cold. I'm really cold.
She's sweet, huh?
The journey becomes more spiritual, eventually, as the script of Cold Fever tries to say something poetic about both Iceland and Japan.
We have many stories of ghosts in Japan.
Yeah. I have my own theory about that.
You do?
Yes. You see, Under these islands, Japan and Iceland, there are many volcanoes and rivers with hot waters. I think it is cold when you die. And all the spirits stay here just to keep warm.
More than any of its ideas or its hip sense of humor, what I liked about Cold Fever is its snowblind look. The filmmakers and the young Japanese man begin by putting down Iceland, but gradually, it seems, the deeper he goes into the country, the more respect he has and we have for this land and its people. Cold Fever is a slight pleasure amid the giants of summertime movie entertainment, but I still enjoyed it.
I guess maybe I enjoyed it just a little bit more than you did, and one of the things I liked about it was that I had no idea what was going to happen next.
Of course.
And there is a sense that what these lonely people in this country do with hardly any population density, and it's dark all winter long, and it's cold all winter long, and there's a scene, Gene, where one of the characters opens a door and looks into a room where the Icelandic people inside are doing something.
Right.
And we get a clear view. We can see just as well as he can what's going on in that room, and we don't have any idea what they're doing.
Right.
None. And he closes the door, and it remains a mystery, some kind of strange, arcane, Icelandic practice.
You know,
and that whole spirit suffuses the film.
Now, but the spirit that I like is that it starts as a put-down. You can see that.
Yeah,
And then I do think you grow affectionate and admiring at some level of this special place on Earth. Okay, when we come back, Eddie Murphy plays the Nutty Professor and 6 other roles.
You never brought a girl home. The least you can do is let us talk to her. Yeah, I'd like to get to know her a little better myself.
Ain't nothing wrong with having relations. Don't be ashamed of that. Relations is beautiful.
Are you asking me out on a date?
Yes. Yes, I am.
I'd love to.
Believe it or not, that's Eddie Murphy starring there as a bashful professor named Sherman Klump, who is head over heels in love with a beautiful grad student in that scene from The Nutty Professor. But he's so self-conscious about his weight that he almost lacks the courage to ask her out on a date. The date goes really wrong when a nightclub comic makes fun of him, and in desperation, Sherman drinks a secret experimental potion from his laboratory. He also plays all of the adult members of the Klump family in this scene, which is the funniest one in the whole movie.
And tell you something else. I don't know why everybody trying to lose weight in the first place. Ain't everybody supposed to be the same size. We're supposed to be all different. Big, small, medium, midget. You're supposed to have all of that. You know what your problem is? It don't work out. Got to exercise. Look at me. That's all muscle. Oh, you fat. I'm muscle. Oh, look at my little Bill. He's a little Hercules.
Jada Pinkett plays the graduate student who eventually finds herself dating both the professor and his alter ego. And as Buddy Love, Murphy is brash and self-confident, but the effects of the secret potion are unpredictable and strand him in an embarrassing situation.
Miss Purdy, let me tell you, that kiss was probably the most wonderful kiss I've ever... What I meant to say was that,
Your lip.
What?
Your lip. Your lip is swollen.
My lip?
Yes.
Oh, my lip. Oh, that happens every time I... What kind of lipstick do you have on?
Chanel.
Oh, yeah, that happens every time I have Chanel lipstick on my lip. Allergic reaction. Oh, Jim McGann. Look, you won't have to go catch a cab, and I got to go to the drugstore and get some Benadryl and Kaopectic. Excuse me. Have a pleasant evening. Bye-bye.
Eddie Murphy's career has been in a slump, but with The Nutty Professor, the slump is over. This is a very funny movie that makes good use of Murphy's talent for disguising himself inside many different characters. Jada Pinkett is a good straight man for Murphy here, and she helps the sweeter side of Professor Klump as it emerges. The bottom line, Eddie Murphy is back.
He is, and it is a spectacularly funny picture.
Yes, it is.
It is really laugh, you know, the old movie phrase that the publicists used to say, laugh riot. This is one of those things.
Yeah.
It is that funny. And I'll tell you part of the secret. Eddie Murphy's been in a slump for a lot of reasons. He's been picking terrible scripts. He's also been playing guys that aren't really that nice. The fat professor is a wonderful guy. You love him, and you want him to be happy, and you feel his pain, and you root for him. So there's a rooting interest. which we used to have in the early days of Eddie Murphy, and now we have it again here.
You know, there's even a little kind of a subtle moment in the movie where he apologizes for being Buddy Love, and he said, I thought that's what people wanted me to be, and I was wrong. Well, you think about it, Buddy Love isn't too different from some of the characters he played in some of these other movies.
That is exactly
and it's
the point.
almost like he's telling us, hey, maybe I should get back to the Sherman Klump side of my personality.
The nicer guy. That is absolutely... Now, think about that. I had the same insight, and I will tell you, to put that into a big, funny comedy is wonderful screenwriting. I will say that Tom Shadyac is the director here.
He made Ace Ventura.
The first one.
Yeah.
This guy's hot, and so now, again, is Eddie Murphy. Coming up next, in this presidential election year, we'll take a look at a recent controversial political campaign, the attempt by the embattled Oliver North to become a United States Senator. A perfect candidate is next.
It's a choice between the devil and the demon, you know. Who are you going to vote for, you know? The flu or the mumps?
The mumps or the flu? That's the choice, as one Virginia voter says it so well in the 1994 Virginia senatorial campaign, a choice between the incumbent Senator Charles Robb and Oliver North, the National Security Council aide who lied to Congress about his role in the Reagan administration's sale of American weapons to Iran as part of a clandestine effort to get aid to Nicaraguan rebels. The election battle between Robb and North is the subject of an absolutely fascinating new documentary called, ironically, A Perfect Candidate, about our own destructive election process and the strange people who participate in it. Here's an example of an utterly lost incumbent, Senator Robb.
Sorry, you all just waiting for, this is not, well, this is the
laundromat.
Laundromat, yeah, okay. I was looking over here and I thought, what is cleaning materials, I thought was lunch, and I was going to see what somebody was having for lunch, but this is all clothes washing.
Meanwhile, Oliver North seemingly can choke up on cue.
Those of you in the media who are going on this tour, you're going to meet the people of Virginia. Some of the best people on this planet, friends.
Eventually, a speechwriter gets Senator Robb to go on the attack with a kind of soundbite that voters, and better still, television news shows just love.
Law-breaking, letter-faking, self-serving, snake oil salesman who can't tell the difference between the truth and a lie.
And the North campaign lobs bombs against Senator Robb in a TV ad that brings up his admitted encounter with a former Playboy playmate.
Chuck Robb lived a lie and violated his oath of good faith to the people, writes the Richmond Times-Dispatch. Character counts, and North has it all over Robb.
And that's what A Perfect Candidate is really about, how mudslinging rather than issues are what American political campaigns are made of. And who is to blame according to this picture? Everybody, from the candidates to the media to especially us, the voters. A Perfect Candidate should be required viewing in high school and college classrooms, and in saying that, I hope I don't make it seem like it's onerous to watch it. It's quite entertaining and depressing, too, for the rest of us.
Boy, I love this movie, and you know, I must say that I started out watching it thinking, well, it's going to be against Oliver North.
Yep.
And actually, it's very even-handed. It sees a lot of the action through the eyes of a character named Don Baker, who was the political correspondent for the Washington Post covering the campaign, and he basically arrives at the conclusion that both of these guys are perfect idiots.
Correct.
At one point, Robb is standing outside a factory, and Baker's trying to get him to answer the question, what is your position on replacement workers? And he says, my position hasn't changed. And he says, well, are you for it? I have not changed my position. Are you against it? He says, I have the same position. And Baker turns and says, can we have a simultaneous translation here? The guy has no idea at all what his position is. And as for North, you get the impression that he is a very scary guy who has all of these people who really have really wonderful family values and all these positive ideas, and he's got them all lined up, and you realize he's just exploiting them for everything they're worth. Both sides of the campaign are equally worthless.
This is a very cynical portrait, and apparently accurate portrait, of American political life right now. When we come back, an unusual romantic triangle with some screwball complications in the comedy Maybe, maybe not.
It is a German comedy covering some of the same ground as the French farce La Cage aux Folles, which is remade as The Birdcage. And like La Cage aux Folles, it's become a European box office champion. It's the story of a straight man who is thrown out by his girlfriend, finds himself homeless, and is befriended by a gay man. He's invited to a wild drag party and afterwards staggers back to his new friend's apartment, not very sure about what went on. Alex, the straight guy, is played by the top German star Till Schweiger. His gay friend Norbert is Joachim Kroll.
Weißt du eigentlich, warum ihr Schwulen es besser habt als wir normal?
Da bin ich ja mal gespannt.
Wer keinen Ärger hat mit Frauen, deswegen.
Dafür müssen wir uns mit Männern rumärgern. Ist auch nicht viel komischer.
Frauen sind schlimmer.
The next morning, another gay friend stops by for breakfast and, of course, sees right through Norbert.
Wie kommst du denn da drauf?
Sonst kommst du nicht vor Mittag aus dem Bademantel und jetzt laufst du schon am Morgen topgesteld durch die Landschaft. Neue Hose, schickes Hemd.
Axel wants to get together with his girlfriend again, but she won't have him. So he goes back to pick up some possessions and through an incredible chain of circumstances, ends up in bed with Norbert just as the girlfriend walks in.
Kommt.
Maybe, Maybe Not is the third recent comedy about a straight character in a gay world or vice versa. After the French Oscar candidate French Twist and the Robin Williams hit The Birdcage, here's another movie that has a lot of fun with a basically pretty innocent situation, in which most of the laughs come from misunderstandings, mistaken identities, and close calls. The movie is very funny, but it's also offbeat in an engaging way that sort of reminded me of the late great German filmmaker Rainer Werner Fassbinder, who was an equal opportunity filmmaker who created equally bizarre situations for his characters, no matter what their sexual orientation
Gee,
was.
I'm surprised you compare this to Fassbinder. That's a very big compliment. I had a mixed reaction to the picture. I'm not recommending it. I think that, again, the Cage aux Folles, the French version, is the standard of this. And so when I'm watching this very familiar turf, because we've seen all these other similar pictures, I'm thinking it doesn't stand up, and I start to think, come on, it's just stretching it too much. I didn't find that the farce worked out exactly as farce must work out to be truly funny, and so I can't really recommend
What about
the
the characters, though? I think the characters in the movie are very interesting.
Maybe if I had more time with them
terms of their, well, but I mean, they're there. They're on the screen for the whole 2 hours.
But they're
and
doing funny stuff, and they're doing opening closet doors.
There's some other stuff there,
And if there had been more of that, I would have recommended the picture. Coming up next, our video pick of the week, a look at the original Nutty Professor with Jerry Lewis.
Brought to you by Orville Redenbacher's Gourmet Popping Corn, the best part of the movies.
The Eddie Murphy version of the Nutty Professor is a terrific entertainment, as both Roger and I have agreed earlier on the show. But what about the original? For my video pick of the week last night, I took a look at the original 1963 version with Jerry Lewis and found it to be a hit-and-miss affair. He plays an awkward buck-toothed professor drawn to a cute co-ed played by Stella Stevens.
Are you all right, Professor?
Oh, yes. This is very embarrassing, Miss Purdy.
Why don't you call me Stella, Professor?
Oh, I thought it was Stella Purdy. Oh, you mean to call you Stella, yes. How stupid of me. Sorry. All right, I will, stupid. Stella.
To gain her affection, he first tries working out in a gym.
Oh, that's very invigorating. Oh, that's terrific. Oh, I'm going to have a great deal of fun with this. I can tell.
Later, he concocts a formula that turns him into Buddy Love, a charismatic lounge singer and lout that some people think was Lewis's own subtle put-down of his old partner, Dean Martin. To me, however, Buddy owes more to a caricature of Frank Sinatra.
You're crazy about me, right? And I can understand it. Only this morning, looking in the mirror before shaving, I enjoyed seeing what I saw so much I couldn't tear myself away. Have some, baby?
I could only imagine how much more enjoyable it would be to see this film with a Jerry-crazed audience in France, which I did one time with a Jerry Lewis movie. Jerry Lewis's Nutty Professor rented, my suggestion is, in a Paris video store. It's my video pick of the week. Now let's recap the movies we reviewed on this show. 2 thumbs down, way down for the awful Striptease, a dumb Demi Moore nudie show, although Roger liked the supporting comic characters. 2 thumbs up for Cold Fever, a wry look at Iceland through the eyes of a Japanese tourist. 2 thumbs up for the riotously funny Nutty Professor remake with Eddie Murphy. It's among his funniest films ever. Congratulations to writers David Sheffield, Barry Blaustein, Steve Odekirk, and Tom Shadyac. 2 thumbs up for A Perfect Candidate, a very wise and therefore very depressing look at the state of American political campaigns. And finally, a split vote on Maybe, Maybe Not, the German sex farce that Roger enjoyed, but but I thought was just okay.
And so the Nutty Professor is the one that is really a refreshing surprise this week after
delightful.
lots of Eddie Murphy flops.
And how about Demi Moore? Let's start looking at her scripts, because this is now 3 losers in a row.
Okay, that's it for this week. Next week we'll be back with reviews of more new movies, including the science fiction thriller Independence Day, starring Bill Pullman, Will Smith, and Jeff Goldblum, fending off a massive alien attack. And also Phenomenon, starring John Travolta as an average guy who's transformed overnight into way above average. That's next week, and until then, the balcony is closed.
The Iced Teapot by Mr. Coffee. The easy way to enjoy fresh brewed iced tea. Made just the way you want it. The Iced Teapot. Ever pack a pita with fresh veggies and star-kissed tuna? It's a taste for the times. Charlie not included. Sorry, Charlie.
One loan, one payment each month, and nothing more. With a combo loan from the Money Store, you can refinance your mortgage and consolidate your bills. Call 1-800-LOAN-YES.
Blistex Lip Tone, a lip balm with proven Blistex moisturizers, plus a slight touch of color to enhance their natural pigment. Blistex Lip Tone, a touch of color, total care.